Welcome, valuable YouTube subscribers, of which we need more, to Wrestling Travel's review of Backlash 2020. I'm Justin Clapper, along with the lovely Brittani Nikole. Brittani, how are you this evening?
I'm good. I'm very good. I liked Backlash. I was ready. I was ready for some wrestling action. I missed seeing NXT like when it happened, so I had to watch it later because I had a power outage because of a tropical storm. So seeing Backlash now when it actually first aired was nice because I had already read all the spoilers about NXT. So
oh yeah, so something
nice.
fresh is nice. And you were replaced last week. Not replaced.
We had a guest host. Okay, bye.
I realized that came out wrong. We had a guest host of Dan Pizzuta from Sharp Football.
Yeah.
Old friend of mine, big wrestling fan, writes about the NFL now. So
that's awesome. It was cool. I watched.
I'll tell you what, for a guy who's not like us, not that we're anything wrong with us, but his he had some great insights, great stuff going on. So we're gonna have a difference of opinion this week, and that's okay. I've decided that that's okay. You and I had decided a long time ago during this outbreak that we're very happy that we have wrestling.
Yes,
that's number one.
Yes.
And the main thing that you and I do not ever want to do is really shit on any of the business. I really don't want to. And hopefully some of the things that I found not to my liking, that perhaps I can get your point of view on them, and maybe it'll help me change my mind. Normally, our format is to go, hey, here are the top things I liked. Let's talk about them. We've got a difference of opinion. So I'm going to let you start because I want to start very positive.
All right. Well, I mean, it is positive and it's also not positive, but I do have a top 5. I even have some honorable mentions, but I'm going to start with my top 5 because I've been taking everything with the pandemic and everything going on with a grain of salt when it comes to critiquing it and stuff, especially since the fact that I can't even run any shows right now, so I can't put on any entertainment myself. And so my number 5 of the top moments of Backlash would have to be Jeff Hardy and Sheamus. I know a lot of people gave this hardcore flack because they were using Jeff Hardy's real alcoholism and drug abuse problems and stuff like that, but I think it's something nice to shine a light on drug abuse and alcoholism and, you know, mental illness and all that kind of stuff. Like, that's kind of still things that are really sketchy and taboo. We don't like to talk about unless it's somebody's mugshot, you know? And so it was kind of a nice build to have that and kind of try to help normalize it and kind of maybe, I don't know, maybe out there it helps somebody talk about like, hey, I feel the same way. Like, you know, maybe I should go get help. Maybe I should go get, you know, a sponsor or something. Like I just feel like there can be some positive out of this. The match, you know, the match was a match, but and Sheamus winning, I mean, okay, I don't know where they're going with this. I really actually don't know if there's any more story that they could tell with this or if they're going to try to beat a dead horse with it. But I just like the fact that they kind of shone a light on something like this in a way to kind of get people to start talking about those kind of things, because it did get people talking.
Definitely. Looking at it from a match standpoint, it was your Sheamus is the heel in this match, and he's pounding the hell out of him. Jeff Hardy gets a kind of a bit of a comeback, but overall, after watching that first part of the match, realistically, as I'm watching it, how can, unless some miraculous finish, Sheamus is going to win. I do agree. I want to say yes. Putting maybe a spotlight on this helps out. It is controversial. One of my things that I'm just not sure where we're going right now in WWE is I'm older than you. VHS tapes came out
I know VHS tapes.
Okay, well, I didn't know if I had to explain that to you, but maybe just to some other people watching it, that when WWF at the time put out some VHS tapes, the ones that I prominently remember were called Super Tape. There'd be 2.5, 3 hours on the VHS tape, and in between the matches, some of the crazier stuff that you didn't see on TV. It would be like Mean Gene and Lord James Blair's Take the Bushwhackers to the Zoo. He'd be hanging out, and all of a sudden, Luke and Butch are at the zoo, and they talk. And I remember they went to the hippos, they went to the this and that. When I'm watching some of these vignettes, we went cinematic with WWE. I thought, well, hey, when I first started watching the, what's the preview show called for them?
Kickoff.
The Kickoff. Sorry, thank you. When they're starting to go, hey, here's what's been going on in this stuff. And they showed some of the Street Profits. And are they the War Machine is now the Viking Raiders?
Viking Raiders, yes.
Okay, because I know there was a different, well, whatever. My old man brain aside, I thought
they also have 3 names.
Right. What was the middle name? They went from
the War Machine,
the Viking Experience.
Viking Experience, Viking Raiders. Yes.
Okay, I'm not that old. My brain might be. I thought, well, hey, this is kind of cool because maybe WWE, even though everybody wants them to go for a harder edge, more than PG, I thought, well, maybe they're going to have these take advantage of the cinematography and do some of these older school comedy skits, just like you and I were talking about Money in the Bank. Hey, what else were they going to do? So I'm like, okay, we're going to do some of these goofier things, a little bit funny. And I'm like, this is great. I can go along with that. Takes me along memory lane as a child, takes the children of today. Now they can go, hey, remember that goofy spot? But now I can't mix that with the drug use in my head.
Right.
So that's where I'm having a crossroads. As a match, didn't stand out. I love both guys. I'm not saying I can do better, but I mean, just the way it was written was just kind of your standard match. But it was one of my highlights.
Yeah, it was definitely, like I said, that's why it was number 5. There was a lot of matches I didn't put on. There was sadly enough, and me being a very huge advocate for women's wrestling, sadly enough, none of the women's matches are on my list, which is sad.
Well, that'll get me to when it's my turn to talk. I got big issues on the women's side on this pay-per-view.
Well, good that you can talk about that, because I'm going with my number 4. Something else that people are not, and number 4 isn't even really about the match. Again, it's not even about the match. Miz and Morrison in the ring jamming out to their own song was a highlight of me watching Backlash, because the fact that I watched the kickoff show, and sometimes a lot of the things on the kickoff show will be repeated on the pay-per-view for people who don't watch the kickoff show. I hate it because then I have to rewatch it, much like watching Miz and Morrison's music video yet again. It is a full-length music video. I watched it on the kickoff. It is a full-length, I don't even remember how long it was, but it felt like 4 minutes or more, music video. And they were showing it again, and I was like, oh, are we going to have to watch the whole thing again? I mean, it's catchy. Hey, 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 ho, ho. I'm the singer, obviously.
I liked it. I was with you.
But Braun Strowman coming in and cutting it off, it was great. The best part about the match is for Miz and Morrison, first of all, 2 very talented people. Braun Strowman, very talented individual. What saves me every time I have matches that are like this, where it was slightly confusing to me that it was a handicap match, but you had to tag in Miz and Morrison had to tag each other in, but it was a handicap match. I don't know. And they, whoever they would win, it would be the Universal Champion. There was a lot of weird stipulations on there, I think, that kind kind of got lost. But the commentary is what saved it for me every time. Because when Corey and Tom and them are talking about Miz and Morrison back and forth, like that saves it. All of those little tidbits that they talk about on commentary is what saves it for me. So that was my number 4, was the Miz and Morrison. Literally, I wrote down Miz and Morrison song jam out to their own song in the ring. That was it. It wasn't even the match. It wasn't even the match that got the number 4 highlight of Backlash. It was me watching themselves doing a song.
Wow, we just jumped through a lot of mirrors right there. That's cool. No, but that's what it's all about. I mean, if you're like, even though I'm going to go a little bit negative on some stuff, it's entertainment that matters.
Yeah.
It is. We are entertained, especially at this time. Yeah, it can, some of the stuff in wrestling, even when it's a non-COVID thing, can benefit from being explained a lot clearer. And it was just like it was brand new to them that one of them would win the strap. And I guess I've been lost following why they would have believed that they would have been co-holders, but whatever. I love all 3 of these guys. Morrison, talented individual. Miz, talented. Miz was one of the guys that even after being in the business, you know, when you're in the business and you're watching stuff and then all of a sudden you're like, freaking hate that guy.
Yeah.
Freaking hate him. And then you realize, yeah, because he's doing his job right. You know? And then ever since you had that realization, I'm like a big fan. Strowman, big dude from the great state of Wisconsin.
Oh, yeah.
Got to briefly have a conversation with him in front of SummerSlam in Toronto. Great dude. I love that he's a big man with the title instead of, and I know it's supposed to be, guy doesn't need a belt because he's an attraction. Yeah, but it helps when the biggest, most athletic, the guy does stuff that really his size you wouldn't expect. Much like a Bam Bam Bigelow, it's really nice when there's not a footnote by Strowman going, well, he didn't need a belt. He was big and well, yeah. Who needs a belt? But it's pretty damn cool to have one. At least that little thing behind. So, yeah, I liked it. Now, let me talk to you. You can talk me off my ledge.
Okay. I'll try.
One of the greatest things about that NXT In Your House pay-per-view was, and this is going to be a little bit of a rant, and you talk me down if I'm being too mean, if I'm a little overtired. I did a whirlwind trip to Indiana and back.
He's jet lagged. He's cranky.
Yeah, jet lagged. One of the greatest things I loved about that NXT pay-per-view, the women's match. That women's main event was fantastic. The opening match, when you have a 6-person match, call me old, it's usually okay. You have your own promotion. Yes. We're gonna go a little bit behind the scenes here. A lot of times, if you have a 6-man match or an 8-man because you got somebody extra kind of showed up to the show, or you're trying to get everybody in.
Yeah, so, it's usually the opener because it's usually, and sometimes we even put it like a hurricane. We call it, down here, we call it a hurricane match when we put a 6 people. And it's usually a pre-show because it's usually a lot of the trainees or people who had friends that rode with them that we necessarily didn't have a spot on the card, but we really want to try to help use them because we want to see what they can do in case we use them in the future, blah, 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 blah. So it's usually just a kind of a throwaway match, as it were.
Exactly. Okay, so I am conditioned to not expect a whole lot from the 6-man, 6-woman match.
Because it can be a cluster. So very much so a cluster.
Okay. The match that kicked off In Your House, those 6 women, I was blown away.
Yeah.
It was phenomenal. And maybe it just got extra because I was like, oh, I don't expect much from this. And I'm like, it's blowing my mind right now. It's great. I can't even name all 6 women in there. Talk me off this ledge. What in the hell is the difference between those NXT women And now it's got to be somebody behind the scenes, the producer, the agent, because let me just go down. I just want I respect everybody in the ring. I love all these guys are putting they're putting their lives, their bodies, everything on the line. Billie Kay. She's a beautiful woman. Stop screaming. Stop overacting, please. You're saying shit in the ring. Oh my God, I sound like Cornette. I'm so sorry.
You don't sound anything like Cornette yet. Don't worry.
Say that in a fight. Oh, look out over here. Let's do this. Why are you talking? Peyton. I'm gonna run through all my bullshit.
Yes.
You can go, hey, you're being a dick, and talk me back up. Because everybody who's gonna Peyton, beautiful. I just find her very sloppy in the ring, and I have a hard time overlooking it. Bailey, I love her in the ring. Yeah, I see your lip. Like, what do you think? Heel Bailey is this is more the pre-match interview. Like, remember how we were talking? Like, it was kind of cool. She was talking outside the ring and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
She's a little over the top, acting wise, in her promo prior to, and I noticed it a little bit. My favorite two people in this match right now. I mean, I normally don't like Sasha Banks, but I like Sasha. Alexa, Nikki Cross, which brings me to my whole analogy here, is the reason why I feel like it's got to be somebody writing. In NXT, when Nikki Cross was a member of Sanity, she drove me absolutely insane with her I'm crazy, over the top, and now they've found herself. She's found herself. I freaking love that girl. I mean, she is. But when the over the top stuff, before I really knew who she was, before I had discovered that she was Nikki Storm, featured on one of our Lost matches, I was like, what is this girl doing? Acting like Sanity. I know she's acting insane. It's not drawing me in anywhere.
Right.
And then it is just, that's what drives me nuts. If it was just the women, for the women, Brittani Nikole, like, okay, this is what it is. But had I not just last week sat through a freaking phenomenal 6-man and a phenomenal 3-women main event, then I would be like, it is what it is. But I talked so much with the Blossom, with Dan Pizzuta last week, of how I love that women's wrestling is not, it's athletic. It's right up there with the men. It's not cliche. It's not bra and panties anymore. It's not, it's athletic. And then I go and watch, and please, if not that she would ever see this, but please, Billie Kay, I don't think it's you. I don't think you want to scream and say things that do not make sense if we were having an actual match and a fight. But to me, this just takes it. And what really takes it away is the same building, Performance Center, underneath the same umbrella. Brittani Nikole, how can I have such a phenomenal women's wrestling week and don't even get me started on Nia Jax. It's too easy.
Yeah.
Days, something bad. So I'm just going to let it go. We all know. And I love her. She's beautiful. All these women, to me, are beautiful. I love what they're doing. I love them. Who am I, some little jackass on YouTube, to say anything? But I got to say it. It was so great a week ago, and now I got this, and I'm going, what? Help me. Please, bring me up.
It's definitely, I think a lot of the things when it comes to especially hearing people yell and scream in the ring and being over dramatic, she's always been like that. It's just that when you have a crowd that is loud, she doesn't sound as loud as she is in the ring now. Like when you have a bunch of screaming fans, yes, you hear her, but you don't hear her so blatantly screaming and yelling. And I think that they're still just stuck. You giving me a timeout? What is this?
Yeah, I just got to interrupt. I don't want to have a timeout on that. You keep going on that. My main problem is not, okay, I guess the screaming is one thing, but who does she look at? Maybe one of the other girls on another team.
Mm-hmm.
There's 3 women in the ring at the same time.
Yes.
Like, let's both beat up her. And they kick her, and then she goes, I'm just kidding, and just whack. And I'm like, oh my goodness, it's doing my head in. Back to you.
Well, I mean, I just think that's just how she is. And it works on some scenarios and sometimes it doesn't. Again, it's one of those things of, I think that Billy and Peyton still are trying to find that niche that they fit in as a tag team because they've been doing it together. And they really have just recently come back from being gone for so long. So I really do think that they're trying to find a niche. They're trying to find how they're going to fit in because honestly, if you think about it, Alexa and Nikki kind of took over their whole best friends, la-di-da, fairy tale gimmick, whatever, of them being like, the best friends and everything, blah, 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 blah. Like, everybody expected that Alexa and Nikki by now would have been split because Alexa would have double-crossed her, yada, yada, yada. Same thing she's done many times. So the fact that they're still holding on to the whole Nikki-Alexa thing, I like. But I do have to say it definitely was night and day compared to the NXT that we just watched last week and the Backlash we watched now. I don't know what it is because they're all very talented. Some people just have off nights. I don't know if it's just the chemistry. Some people just don't work well with each other. Some people just don't work well with anybody. Like it's one of those things of I don't know, unfortunately, and hopefully they can kind of fix it.
Okay, so we're kind of. I mean, I know I went off on a rant, but I want to like you, Billy Kay, and I want to because I have.
I love Billy Kay. Okay, me and Billy Kay. I love Billy Kay.
When they won the tag belts, I was with them, and I'm like, okay, that's part of the shtick, the screaming. I get it, but
it's like Vicky Guerrero.
Yes.
Excuse me.
I just think she can do so much better.
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not. I think Billy Kay.
Excuse me.
Okay. I just don't want anybody to see this and think I was shitting on them. What I'm trying to say is,
no.
When I watched the 1 week, they're good. I just was like explaining how much I love the women's roster in the WWE, how entertaining it is, how we got so far away from cliche stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm watching this and I'm going, oh man, you know what it was? My first trip to the UK, my friend Liam Bolton says, hi Liam, I'm going to take you to Nando's. You're going to love Nando's. Him and his future wife, the COVID canceled their wedding, delayed it for a little bit. They said, Nando's, we're going to take you there. It's awesome. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. It's awesome chicken. Freaking great. I'm a fat guy. I'd like to eat chicken. I got there and I was like, well, I'll tell you what it was. It was okay. It was good. It was good. Bordering great. But people had built it up in my head so much that this is going to be the best thing, which we'll get to the main event. This is going to be the best chicken that you've ever had. And I'm like, okay, I'm excited. And then I had it and I'm like, yeah, I can't, it's good. I can't say it's the best thing I ever had. Just talking about the women's division a week ago with Dan Pizzuta, with the Blossom Twins, with everybody else that I could probably, you and I haven't talked too much because of the weather, but loving what they're doing with the women, and then watching tonight's 2 matches, I was just like, boy, you know what? I guess it hurts because not only was it built up, but I helped build it up in my own head.
Right.
So that might be where I'm at.
I agree. I agree with that. It's that, like, again, none of the women's matches are on my top 5 for this Backlash. Whereas if I would have been talking about the NXT, those would have been my top 1 and 2.
Yeah, that's where I was with those.
You know, it's one of those things of it definitely was lackluster. And again, it's happened before. There's been, there's been some matches that have been built up like crazy and they just kind of like, or shit the bed, as it were, and so, yeah, I'm disappointed. I'm sad that they weren't the highlights of the night, but we did have some great highlights of the night.
Yes. Well,
you don't seem like
I'm concentrating on that, and I look to you to raise my spirits, and you have. Everybody, okay, there's off nights, and a lot of times what we have to remember is it's not always the performers in the ring that should take the complete blame for everything that has happened. So thank you for talking me off my women's wrestling ledge. But I do think it was just because it was phenomenal last week.
Oh, yeah.
I don't understand how we can go from that week to this week. And I don't know how to say that without offending them. And I don't want to offend anybody because I love wrestling and I love that we're getting it. And I love all those performers. But I guess I just got to look forward to the next time.
Exactly. And that's the thing is there was going to be a next time and there'll be some great matches. And that's the thing is it's not, hopefully, all you can be happy about is hopefully no one got hurt and that they can then wrestle again and show have a better match next time.
Right. All right. Take us somewhere positive. It's your turn.
Okay. Well, for number 3 on my top 5 list, it was going to be Drew McIntyre versus Bobby Lashley. Now, I'm not a big... Okay, so I was never a big fan of Bobby Lashley, nor MVP. Sorry, MVP. But MVP is I really like him in this manager role. I don't know what Lana's doing there, but, she's there. And I was actually impressed to see... I was, excited to see these two go head-to-head. The start off of the match with the full Nelson thing, before the match even started, kind of killed it a little bit for me at the very beginning because it was the match hasn't even started. And then the ref called out more refs and security or whatever to pull them apart. And I'm like, shouldn't they end it now? Because it's before the match, he started attacking. And shouldn't he? Are we going to still have, are we still doing this? As an announcer, I would have been very confused. I would have been there, been like, "Should I announce? Are we going? Are we doing this? Oh, okay, we're still doing this. All right, cool." So, that kind of started. But all in all, Drew McIntyre. Just like you think Billy Kay or Peyton Royce or whatever is gorgeous, Drew. Drew.
Oh, that's what we were going with that. Okay. I was
Drew is gorgeous, and he so deserves it. And people were saying that they were like, "Oh, because it's been 13 years, it's been Bobby. They're going to put the title on Lashley." I'm glad they didn't, because one, I think in the time of COVID, which is now, I guess, what this time period is, we're no longer the time of in the time of COVID. I think big title changes like that shouldn't happen, especially since Drew just got it. And Drew deserves to be in front of a crowd with people chanting for him and stuff before he ever loses it. I think that they need to kind of hold on to that a little bit. But, it's all in all, good match. I knew Lana was going to have something to do with it. I knew easily Lana was going to have something to do. An MVP. I just knew that's how they had to do it, because you can't, have Bobby lose so quickly to Drew. I think they're going to build it up some more. I feel like maybe a SummerSlam thing can happen, possibly, and then they maybe switch the title. I don't know. I don't want them to, but it's not my choice. I'm not Vince McMahon, so.
Okay. unlike
I
you,
love this show so much
I'm
already.
sorry.
Can we have different opinions every single time? Because this is like Statler and Wardle. Like it's like the Muppets in the balcony.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Boo! Get off the stage.
I, for one, love Bobby Lashley. I love his look. I love when he was in TNA. Yeah, obviously.
Oh yeah.
I think every guy, he's one of those every guy, every girl. Every guy wants to look like him. We feel like every girl wants to be with him, except unless you want to be a Drew McIntyre. I know, I understand. But so he's got that look. He's a good heel. He's a great babyface. MVP. I'm looking at my DVDs right now. I want to say, if you haven't seen it, and you won't be able to see it on the network, I was not a fan of MVP until I saw, I believe it was WrestleMania 20. MVP versus Chris Benoit. No, that's not 20. I forget when it is. Somebody's going to go, no, you idiot. You just named the WrestleMania where Benoit won the title. Maybe 21, whatever it was. Benoit, MVP, WrestleMania. And I'm like, I remember watching it because I didn't get the pay-per-view live. So I had to rent it or buy it, whatever. And I'm watching that match going, should I skip this? And I'm so glad I didn't. So if you get a chance to watch that match.
I will watch it. That's our homework, kids.
That's your homework.
All you out there.
I thought it was a great match. Where I have Drew McIntyre, again, another guy I was lucky to have a few words with prior to SummerSlam. A professional, a great dude, deserves it a lot. Our friends from Hooked on Wrestling, Mr. Paul Benson, told me they had some stuff planned in Glasgow for WrestleMania for like a watch along. All these fans, and he said, "Can you imagine how that would have been?"
Oh yeah,
we won the title for WrestleMania.
Oh,
so my hat's off to Drew McIntyre. So I thought it was a good match, back and forth. And I know that and I know that Lana somehow got to get involved. But did I miss something?
Her outfit.
What? Hey, again, she can wear anything or nothing, and I'd love it. That sounds terrible in this day and age. I should not say anything like that. A great outfit is what I meant to say. Do we have to cut this out? Anyway,
no, please
I just don't understand. I guess part of the thing about pro wrestling is we don't have to explain ourselves and have reasons. But at some point, some of the things I'm like, what in the world? What was the reason? Where did we get that? How did we get here? Give me some type of credible explanation. And yeah, I'll stop there because otherwise I'll start talking about the outside of the ring bump with her and MVP. And then I'll sound like a negative Nelly or Nancy. I don't want to offend Nancy's or Nelly's. I'll be a negative Karen.
I was gonna say you'll be a Karen.
Yeah. So.
Oh, Karens.
Give me more Drew. Give me more Bobby. Give me less outside interference.
Yes, I would love. I mean, if it had to come to them in a cage, if it had to come to them,
sweet.
In that kind of scenario, I would enjoy that. That would be nice. I think it would definitely tear the house down if they did a whole cage thing. Or maybe, I don't know, put Lana and MVP in cages above the ring and they have to get to them. I don't know. Pick one. Shark Tanks. I don't care. Like, either way, it would all work out. Anything with Drew, and that's the thing, is Bobby is looking better than he ever has. Huh?
Anything with Drew. I saw you drifting away for a minute there.
I'm allowed to have one crush, okay?
Oh, you're allowed. I just accidentally said bad things about Lana, so you're totally allowed. Please incriminate yourself some more. I would appreciate it.
I'll never be able to go anywhere without incriminating myself, so it's okay. Yeah. It's okay. I have a crush on Rhea Ripley too. Like, she's the ultimate daddy to me. So I mean, there's
Great.
Lana's out. Yeah, I'm an equal opportunity. I'm an equal opportunity.
I'm an equal opportunity stalker. Not that you're a stalker. No, I think we agree. Where has the show going? We agree that Lashley, McIntyre, obviously not done, and I'm excited that it's not done. I want to see these guys
Yep.
In the ring without interference.
Speaking of people I want to see in the ring, that brings me to our number 2.
Okay. Thank you for segueing us the hell out of that.
Yeah, well, because we didn't see them in the ring. We saw them all over the planet. And my number 2 of best things that happened for Backlash was Eric and Ivar versus the Street Profits. So Viking Raiders versus Street Profits. I'm sorry. I loved this. There was ninjas. Akira Tozawa showed up. It was like Fast and the Furious meets Star Wars. There was a Jedi turkey leg. There was an alligator. There was Jess, who I love. She's amazing. Kennedy Brink in Wrestling World. She's now Jessica. She was their first female referee ever. Jessica Carr. Her popping into the garbage thing and saying, your match is next. Like, what are you guys doing? And just, and then becoming the Viking Profits. I want to see the Viking Profits. I know they got to wrestle at some point to each other, but like the Viking Profits, yes. It was my number 2 because it was so camp. It was like the Bushwhackers and all that kind of stuff. Like the camp of it. It was something, there was just something nestled so pure and so joyous in it. Like, it made me so happy. Like, they went through a window and they're like, why'd you throw me through the glass window? It's like, why'd you use a bowling ball? And he's like, this escalated so quickly. Like, it was just, I don't know. It made me happy. I think it was well done. And it was actually, I really enjoy Eric and Ivar before they came to WWE. They did in Japan, all that kind of stuff. They're phenomenal talents. They really are. Something, ever since they came to WWE, even when they were NXT, there was something lacking. There was something just kind of, to me personally, this has been the most charismatic and the most fun story arc that they've had with somebody the entire time that they've been in under the WWE umbrella. And it's been very entertaining for me to see them actually be able to show all of their sides, like not just their physical in the ring abilities, but also the abilities to play camp and have fun and just be, funny and be a character, because it's hard for some people. Some people take it very, very seriously, too seriously, to the point where they're not able to step outside and do something that may be a little bit off, but will pop the crowd and make them enjoy it even more. So
I'm going to give you that because that's great. They are able to, because I don't want to crap on this, but it just goes to what I said earlier on, like the Bushwhacker vignettes and stuff. I guess WWE is showing me that we can have the best of both worlds.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I need it. You had me at Jedi turkey leg, which I don't think I've ever heard anybody say before, but great.
It was the best. Just Ivar with the Jedi turkey leg. He's the cute one.
He's the cute one.
Yeah,
okay.
Eric, not so much.
So Raymond Rowe, right?
No, he's not the cute one.
He's not the cute one. Okay. Okay. I guess I'd call the entire women's division cute, so it's okay. I don't discriminate. I think they're all beautiful. I can't believe you think one Viking Raider is cuter than the other. How dare you? Yeah, I just want these guys to get in the ring. That's what I want.
SummerSlam, man. I think they're going to build up. I
Yeah.
really hope they build up all the way to SummerSlam. I hope they take this journey. I don't know what else they could possibly do because there was an alligator. There was ninjas. There were motorcycles. There was the Force. There was so much stuff going on. I don't know what else they could possibly do to build up all the way to SummerSlam, but I hope that
I do.
Try. What?
Turn it into a good old-fashioned, I don't like you, you don't like me. We've done this campy stuff, and now you went a little bit too far. Now we've got heat. We've got real heat. Not working together with Jedi turkey legs. And now we're going to get in, and we got an angry Viking team, and we got an angry Street Profits who out to prove that, hey, we could beat these big guys, and let's go kick the hell out of each other. And
Viking Profits!
I would love it. Okay, you want Viking. Anyway.
Get what I want. Fighting profits.
You can have what you want. I just hope that I want a good old-fashioned, I want some heat. And I want Eric and Ivar versus Ricochet and Aleister Black at NXT TakeOver New York last year was the kickoff match for TakeOver. I can't remember my phone number, but I remember bullshit like this. That was awesome. You know what I mean? I was like, phenomenal matches. And those big boys, again, are not just those guys are athletic as hell.
Air Ivar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, man, that could be a great match. That's going to be a great match.
Oh, yeah. Hands down. And here's the thing is they have the talent. And WWE is not hiding and masking anything with having them do this campy stuff where they've done in the past where, like, you know, they give certain people who maybe don't have much in-ring ability, they give them other things to do, or they give them more campier, more character-driven kind of thing, or vice versa. If you're really good in the ring but you can't speak on the mic, they'll probably give you a manager, so they talk for you, that kind of thing. These guys have all of it. So for them to be able to do all of this just shows the levels that they're able to go. Like, they're all triple threats when it comes to that. They're able to talk, they're able to walk, and they're able to work. Like, they're able to do all of it. And so, I don't know.
No, and I'll talk myself off of that. Talk myself off of that ledge. We can't have full-blown fans into there right now, so let's stretch it out. And like we said at the Money in the Bank, so everybody, I guess my big thing, setting the women aside, is that everything else, we have to remember when we're creating a match, if I'm WWE, that this is not selling to, although this doesn't really work for everybody else, we're not selling this to a 90,000 seat arena as much as we're selling it to a family of 3 or 4 watching in their living room at home.
Right. Exactly. Well, I mean, did you have, I feel like you can guess what my number 1 is.
Apollo Crews versus Andrade on the kickoff show?
No.
I thought that was all right. Yes.
No, it wasn't. No, that wasn't all right.
Yeah,
match.
I love that one.
It gets an honor. That's an honorable mention. I have my honorable mentions out before I go to my number 1. My honorable mentions are that match, because I love Apollo Crews getting this title first and foremost. I think he deserves it. I think him being able to hold this title and give it kind of a boost that it's so rightfully deserved. Zelina Vega's entire stable that 2 people, whatever, stable that she's trying to create and all that kind of stuff. I think it's great what she's working with. Kevin Owens on commentary, once again. I love Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens does commentary in the ring anyways when he wrestles, so to have him on commentary was brilliant. It made me so happy. And Samoa Joe's commentary throughout the night too. I'm really enjoying Samoa Joe as a commentator, and I know that he's doing it because his in-ring action is not happening right now. Not that I hope that it doesn't ever happen again, but I hope that maybe he kind of takes this as a thing, saying that he can do it and that he doesn't have to go back into in-ring action. He could stay as a commentator, because either way is great, but save your body, Samoa Joe. Just enjoy commentary because you're good at it. Just stay there, please, for me, for my enjoyment.
Let the guy have a last run or something, and then know that he has a future in commentary.
If he has a last run, I have to be on commentary. Just have me replace him if he's going to have a last run, okay? I got to be on commentary then.
Perfect. I will agree upon that, even though I have nothing that I can do to help you with that.
You hear that, WWE? Me on commentary if Samoa Joe comes back for one more run.
Please.
Done.
Actually, we shouldn't say please. We should say we will allow you to use me as commentator.
Yes. You would be so welcomed and gifted to use me on commentary.
They've officially unfollowed us.
This hasn't even aired yet.
Yeah, I know. And they're on it though. They're big on social media.
Oh yeah.
Apollo Crews. You talk about what he brings to the title, but what the title brings to him. It's vice versa. I'm so glad because the dude is ultra athletic. He's jacked. Dude, I'm a dude and I love the guy's smile. I love his charisma.
It just lights up a room. It's so bright.
Yeah.
Like he's just so, like, when he smiles, it makes you want to smile. It makes you feel good. Like when he feels good, you feel good. It's some kind of great energy he gives off.
And he's so good. And I mean, some of his spots in the ring are awesome. I'm just glad that getting him the title, a lot of times they talk about people in the day, Tommy Rich and Ronnie Garvin having those NWA spots. Tommy for 4 days, Ron had it for, 30 days, 45 days, whatever it was. Oh, well, they're not a real champion. He was just like a placeholder. Yeah, but you know what? Damn it. You're in history. That's, some people don't ever get to touch that belt.
Exactly.
And to have it. And now, both of them, by the way, that's a career highlight. We can say former world champion, but guess what? I remember a lot more about Tommy Rich and Ron Garvin than holding the NWA world title. So, but I'm just glad people like, who was I just talking about earlier that I'm glad? Oh, Strowman. Strowman's not going to be one of those, oh, he's a big guy, he didn't need the belt. Yeah, but you know what? Pretty damn cool that he had it. Apollo Crews, I imagine every time I'd seen him before, he's pulling out all of his athletic moves, putting it on the line every night like everybody else. But it's really nice to see a guy like him who in my wrestling head was thought, oh, they'll never give him a singles title, to see him have a single title. And I don't want any COVID asterisks. I just want, hey, he's a U.S. champ. So.
And that's the thing too is, championships mean something. As much as people and much as wrestlers in the wrestling world want to be like, oh yeah, it's just
whatever. Yeah.
You get to they choose who wins. So like it's not, you didn't actually win it. It means something because as much as you think that there's a lot of people that have had the belt and you're like, oh my goodness, that title is passed down from so many people. There is so many more people that have never had that belt. I mean, when you think about even them talking about Bobby Lashley at 13 years for this title shot or whatever, like that's legit. Like that's like, it's not just a story. Like this has been 13. Drew McIntyre, how long has it been for him? 19? 18? 19? Something like that. I mean, it's one of those things of it takes people so long to get to a main company like WWE or AEW or something like that. It takes people so long to get to a huge main company. Ring of Honor, New Japan, anything like that. And to get a title of that recognition from any of those companies, that's huge. I remember when Lance Archer, or Lance Hoyt, wherever he goes, Lance Archer now, I guess, came and worked with us, and he brought the New Japan belt with him. He had one of the tag belts with him, and I got to touch it. Like it was the original OG New Japan belt, and I was like, boop. I just it's something so beautiful to have and to be able, so for him to have it, it's an iconic moment, and I think people should take more kind of, I don't know, excitement in people being able to have belts, because it really is a momentous occurrence to be able to get a belt like that. So for Apollo Crews, kudos to him for getting that.
Yeah, absolutely. And as a promoter, I know you understand the difference between, belts don't mean much to me, to what do you mean I have to lose my belt? What do you mean I have to give my belt back? That's more of a pain in the ass. But yeah, there is the belt, whether you're talking kayfabe or not, needs to be treated as, no matter what belt it is, as the highest honor we want that. Otherwise, what the hell are we fighting for?
They're also very expensive. Just so
Yeah.
you know, from a personal standpoint, they're
That was my
very
Ben
expensive.
Affleck from Armageddon speech, by the way.
I like that.
Have you seen the movie?
Sure.
Damn it. I'm so old. Let's get to your number one. I'm going to predict that your number one match was the greatest wrestling match that has ever happened. Before I let you speak, Brittani Nikole, I might be a little bit controversial here because I'm tired and crabby. But what makes a wrestling match great?
Did I take my earrings off?
Sorry. I'm like yelling at you. What makes a wrestling match great? In your opinion,
in my opinion, what makes a great match?
Yeah, as a fan, the fan in you. Go ahead.
Storytelling, the build-up, storytelling, and I like technical work, but but not necessarily always has to be technical. For instance, if it's a storyline where they're having like a street fight or some shit, like obviously it's not going to be a super grapple match in the ring if they're in the middle of a street or their back lot or wherever. So it really doesn't, but story is what I like, and story is what needs to be told. The psychology of the match and the feel of the match. I think that is exactly what makes a great match, is how you feel watching it and coming in, because that's what stays with you, is that feeling. You're not going to remember what he did 6 minutes into the match to his opponent. You're not going to remember the exact strike or the exact move, but you're going to remember that feeling you had when your favorite wrestler was down on the mat and kicked out right before the 3 count. Or you're going to remember those kind of you're going to remember that feeling. So it's definitely the psychology and the storytelling of the entire match is what makes, to me, a great match, or the greatest match.
And prior to this match, this pay-per-view airing, was it a Sting versus Rick Rude match that you picked as one of your favorites?
No, my favorite, it is Rick Rude. I love Rick Rude.
Okay.
So it was Rick Rude versus Ricky the Dragon Steamboat in a 30-minute Iron Man match at Beach Blast 92 for WCW. Okay. That match, storytelling-wise, first of all, the lead up to it, just all the little things that they did to build to this match. But then this match itself, Rick Rude earlier in the match gets his ribs injured. And the entire match, he sells the rib injury. He tries to pull up Ricky. He's just like, like the sells that they did, the false finishes, the tension, the momentum, the psychology, the story of that match. You watch all 30 minutes and you don't look away, because that's the thing, is nowadays when we watch wrestling matches, I know a lot of you because I've been in rooms where I've had like watch parties with people, and this is how I see people watch wrestling matches. So no one's ever avidly watching matches anymore, and you can sit through that match and just watch the whole thing and not look away. And that's why I love that match with Rick Rude and Ricky Steamboat. I make so many people watch that match just for the selling, like just for the fact that the way that they sell their injuries and sell everything that they do, like it's beautiful.
So that would be homework for anybody watching this. What I would love to start happening is I would love to read a thread of comments.
Classes in session, children.
Yep. Please watch that match and watch the MVP Benoit match if you can find it. But I always love when people, and it would be really cool on our little YouTube thread here, if people were like, yeah, check out this match because I love wrestling.
Yeah, tell us your matches.
And people want to yell at me about the women's matches. I'd love to hear everybody else's opinion because I certainly have mine, but I'm always open to everybody else, and I always want to be positive. But so this greatest match ever, can we bill that before it even happens? Is that a little pretentious? What's your opinion?
No, I
Okay.
do not think so. So this is my number one, and the reason that this was my number one, I didn't put it as my number one before watching. I literally put all these numbers after watching the whole thing. So I wasn't already going, oh, well, this is going to be my number one before seeing it. But when I saw it, I was thinking it was maybe going to be my number two. But when I saw it, it turned out to be my number one. It just happened that way. And from the whole feel of it, again, they realize they're in a time of COVID. They're in a time with no audience. They built this up to say it's the greatest match of all time, the greatest match ever, however you want to say it. A lot of people took that to such an extent heart, they were already hating on it before the match, before the night even started. They were like, it can't be the greatest match ever. Nothing can ever be the greatest thing ever nowadays. The feeling that Orton and Edge gave you was the feeling that matches that you watch from the 80s and 90s and stuff like that, like old matches of like Macho Man and Ric Flair and Ultimate Warrior, give you that feeling now. They tried to give you that nostalgia of seeing the greats, because again, you're never going to see that again. You are never going to see a match with Randy Savage ever again. Just sorry, you're never going to see him again. You're never going to see, The Undertaker in his prime ever again. You're never going to see Ultimate Warrior again. There's so many of them that we've lost that you're never going to see. You're never going to see Ric Flair as Ric Flair again. Ric Flair's always going to be Ric Flair, but Ric Flair is never going to be that Ric Flair that made him, the Nate. It's just not. So this was two people that come from those generations down and have become legends, Hall of Famers even. Edge is a Hall of Famer. Orton's going to be a Hall of Famer. And they brought them into a ring together to give you something that harkened to the raw and like most primal, solid, old school version of wrestling that there is today. Because wrestling changes at the drop of a hat nowadays, and like new things are in and other things are not, and things change and this and that. So like the vibe and the psychology of the greatest match of all time between Edge and Orton was to give you that wholesome kind of feel that you felt as a kid watching The Ultimate Warrior or watching Rick Rude and Steamboat. That's the first, So the fact that they had the Madison Square Garden thing, they piped in Howard Finkel doing the things like that, was just, Charles Robinson was in the old school blue bow tie. The lighting, the camera angles, the extra piped in noise, people were like, why are they piping in extra things? But it made you get more involved. It made you feel more like it was an actual wrestling event again, to hear that piped in cheers and boos and all that kind of stuff. And that's why I think it was between that, the false finishes, the emotional false finishes, like they had so much emotion behind every single one of those false finishes. I've seen matches. I've been to matches. I've at my own shows even, because I don't necessarily always know what every move is going to be that leads up to the actual finish of a match. And they do so many false finishes that I'm sitting there going, oh my God, just take it home already. Please. I love you too, but oh my God, please stop. Somebody pin somebody. But I didn't care. I didn't want them to pin each other. I wanted them to keep going. And then that weird, Orton is so creepy. I love him, but Orton is so creepy. That whisper, that weird whatever, he was like, he said something about fucking something, and I was just like, he like whispered in his ear, like, I'm gonna fuck him. I'm like, whoa, what? I really want to see Orton go against Dexter Lumis just because they're both really creepy. But yeah, I loved it. It was my number one. And it to me, currently, it was the greatest match of all time in that moment. Because there's so many great matches in each moment. But at this Backlash in 2020, that was the greatest match. And that was their greatest match together against each other in this whole arena. Like in the ring, it was just technical. They grappled. They literally just did old school wrestling moves that a lot of other people, if they would do it today, they would just get shit on. But back in the day, you could put somebody in a hold for 20 minutes and it would still be interesting. I mean, Hulk Hogan had 3 moves and people still loved him. I just it was one of those things of it harkened back to the old school, and I really liked all of it. And yeah, that's why it's my number one. And anyone on the internet can fight me about it. It's fine.
I'll fight you about it right now. How's that?
That sounds good. Okay.
You're like,
ready.
oh, here goes this guy again.
Hold on.
All right.
Okay, I'm ready.
All right. First question, side by side, that match versus your Rick Rude and Steamboat match, can you compare it, or is it because it's in a different time? We're in the COVID, no audience. Can you compare those two matches? Just you. This is us just having a chat.
Yes, I can compare them because they have a lot of similarities when it comes to storytelling. Can I compare the audience reactions? No. Can I compare how I feel as an audience reacting to it? Yes. But I can't compare because they, the Rick Rude, Ricky Steamboat had an entire audience going insane. This one did not. However, the feeling I got from both matches between the false finishes and the build-up and the stories and the selling of the injuries and just the actual wrestling going on between the two opponents, they are very similar in my mind. You can go back, anybody go back and watch them. I don't care if you do them side by side, put them side by side. They're not the exact same match. I'm not saying that Edge and Orton took my advice, found that match, went and watched that match, and then did the match. But the length is almost the same too. It was just the only thing with the Iron Man match is that I believe it was like a 2 out of 3 fall, something like that. Whatever, whoever gets the most falls. However, can't remember. And this one was like, you win by pinfall or submission. So, but the length was pretty much the same, I do believe.
44 minutes and 45 seconds.
There we go. There you go. So, yeah. So, they went longer. So,
they might have had a few starts and stops with the cameras. But
right.
with this day and age, that's a given.
Mm-hmm.
What I want to know, and I'm playing devil's advocate right now. I'm not going the way I was on the women's match. 10 years from now, Brittani Nikole,
mm-hmm.
you think that match is going to be in your top 5 favorite wrestling matches at this moment right now in time? I know we can't predict the future. If you can, please let me know. We're getting out of this COVID really soon, but
I would say no, and the only reason is because if you were going to have me pick an Orton versus Edge match as one of my top 5, it would have to be the one they did at WrestleMania.
So even right now, do you believe the WrestleMania one is better than the greatest match ever?
Cinematically, yes, because it's now if we're talking
I'm not trying to talk you into a corner. I apologize. I'm just having a conversation.
I'm saying cinematically, yes. Now, if we're talking about if we're going to not talk about the cinematic matches, because that's the thing is you cannot compare the Graveyard match or Boneyard match with any of the other Taker matches. You can't compare AJ Styles matches with his Boneyard. You can't compare the Firefly Funhouse match with other Bray Wyatt matches. You can't compare those. So if we're going to take all of the cinematic ones off the table and talk about just ones that actually happen in a wrestling ring and stay in a wrestling ring, in front of fans, then I would have to say that the Edge and Orton match that I saw at Backlash was an amazing match that will stand the test of time when it comes to those two going against each other, those two careers.
And I want to preface everything that's going to come out of my mouth and has come out of my mouth about this match, that I love it for what we're going through today. Just like we discussed Money in the Bank. What else were they going to do? Have no match. I love what they're doing. We are getting entertainment, and I was entertained. I am like how do I say it? Is triggered is the word. I guess maybe triggered by the title of the greatest wrestling match ever, because my question is, can you try too hard? And I think you can, because I think we did a lot of cliche stuff. It's like, you ever see those YouTube or Facebook things where like every popular song in the last 20 years only uses like these 3 chords or something goofy like that? I can put these 3 chords together and I can give you hit after hit, because some of the notes I took down, cliches in this match. The overhead camera angle, I freaking love it, because it took me back to Starrcade 1983, Harley Race versus Ric Flair. The only thing that was missing was a yellow WWE logo and a lot of blood on that. Matt, it would have been good, because then I'm trying to remember, is that canvas normally that shade of blue, or did they blue it up for this match or something?
No, it's that shade of blue. It's
okay.
Blue canvas. That's a traditional
I give them
blue
too
canvas.
much credit there. They're talking about Flair and Steamboat during the match, which I'm like, I understand you're doing that because you build it as the greatest match ever, but it would have been awesome without the title of the greatest match ever, that they were like, holy shit, this is like Flair and Steamboat back in the day. Then I would have. So I'm like, the false finishes. Has anybody ever pinned anybody using somebody else's finisher? No, it just doesn't happen. So
I feel like it has.
Pedigree, the rock bottom.
I thought it was cute. I liked it.
And then they're like, oh, and he answers with his greatest nemesis. I liked everything as it was. I just feel like, I don't know, I guess it's sometimes they leave us old guys and want to talk to the younger fans and stuff like that, where you're like, okay, a majority of the audience is not the old guys. It's not Justin Clapper who likes Nick Bockwinkel versus Kurt Hennig in 1986 as his favorite match of all time.
I wasn't even born in 86.
Well, there are videotapes available at YouTube and stuff. So that's your other homework now. It's going to take you 60 minutes. Do you have the Mr. Perfect DVD?
God, no.
Because I used to look for this match and look for it, and finally I asked on the internet. Somebody's like, it's on disc 2 of the Life and Times of Mr. Perfect. And I'm like, shit, I've owned that for 2 years. My question is, can you try too hard? Or can I, as a promoter, and if I have the pencil, can I use every cliche and make, how do I say it? Is Tom Brady a great quarterback, or is the system great? Can I take 2 phenomenal athletes and continuously create the greatest match ever by using a lot of wrestling cliches, false finishes, other people's finisher? And I'm not shitting on the match right now. I'm just having that conversation.
Yeah.
Or because I hope the answer to that is no, and I can just say Randy Orton and Edge put on a clinic because they're awesome. But the other side of that is, do we take anything away from Edge and Randy when we go, hey, we're going to book something called the greatest match? Do you know where I'm going with this?
Kinda.
Because I'm wondering, can I take any 2 guys?
Oh, okay. So you mean like, can I just plug and play?
Plug two guys of their caliber into a match, and through booking and through cliched stuff and through the overhead camera angle and calling it the greatest match ever, saying Ric Flair and Rick Steamboat's name into it, can I make that the greatest match ever? You know, can I take the same things and throw CM Punk and John Cena into it?
Oh
2000.
God, please don't say CM Punk.
What, you know what I'm saying?
I think no. I think Edge and Orton were the perfect people to pick. I think there is some other people you could probably choose, but again, they're not in their prime anymore, or they're not wrestling anymore. I think that Edge and Orton were the two that had to do this match for them to be able to call it the greatest and to put all of these cliches in, because you have somebody like Orton who comes from a family line.
Mm-hmm.
He's got the history built into him. You have Edge, who has worked so hard and is a Hall of Famer and has come back miraculously, against his wife's wishes. I'm sure Beth's still not thrilled. And for them to mention people like Ric Flair and Steamboat and stuff like that, it is not speaking to, I was going to say our generation, of people who have knowledge about old school wrestling. And I'm hoping that them doing matches such as this and doing things and mentioning people such as Ricky Steamboat and Ric Flair back in the day and doing the overhead angles and doing the old school Madison Square Garden, it lets the younger generation do a Google search or a YouTube search and start looking up those old matches and start learning history of what they're watching. And I think that is something that this also subliminally does. Like, it's a subliminal kind of like, this is the greatest match of all time. And then it makes people argue and go, nuh-uh, this back in 93 was the greatest match. And the kid will be like, what was 93, Dad? And you can be like, well, here, watch this. And like, like
you saying that.
I was born in 88. Sir.
Okay.
Great year for wrestling, 88. So it's one of those things of, I think subliminally, not only is this something, also kind of just, it's like a little, it's a little wink and a nod to the business to be like, oh, this is the greatest match of all time. Like, it's also a snub to other wrestling shows. It's a snub to other wrestling. Like, it's all a work, brother.
Oh, yes. And you and I know that the most. That's why I'm saying, is it because I don't want
I think it was a phenomenal match. I think Edge and Orton were the perfect people to do it, and I hope that the subliminal undertone of the entire thing makes the children's go online and start looking up some really old school matches and learning the history of where we all came from.
Yeah, because and trust me, if you're watching this and you go back and watch the Steamboat Flair trilogy, Chi-Town Rumble, apparently there's a ton of Steamboat and Flair that were just in house shows in the early 80s that were not on tape. Mm-hmm. But yeah, my not argument, but my point that you actually helped me get across was, can you just throw two athletes together through cliches and everything? Can you create? And I don't want to think that you can. Mm-mm.
It's a special combination. It really is. And it's always, any kind of great iconic match, there is always those weird special combinations between the opponents themselves, the referee, the announcer, the crowd, everything. Like, it's got, like, all of it is got to be copacetic. It's all got to.
Copacetic, a word that does not get used on this show very often. So my dream is that, let's say SummerSlam's too early, but let's say Survivor Series, that we get Edge and Orton again in front of a live crowd. Mm-hmm. We get Lashley and McIntyre in a...
Oh, yeah, Survivor Series. I keep saying SummerSlam. I don't know why I want SummerSlam to be here, but Survivor Series.
Well, I want SummerSlam to be here, and I want, as wrestling travel and as a fan, I want to watch SummerSlam with a live crowd. I want to bring fans from around the world to wrestling events again, and I want to watch, and I want to go and speak with you after and talk about, not like, well, this was great considering. I want to go.
Maybe we could do it in person.
In person, in the same room, not 6 feet apart. and just go, hey, let's talk about wrestling again. Let's talk about it. That's what the dream is. The dream. So, yes. So, in closing, my closing comments are, listen, I'm happy that wrestling is back, or not back, but still going on. I'm happy that I'm getting entertained. My only negative really parts happened because you just wowed my pants off last week, WWE. And then I come to this, and I know it's peaks and valleys. I love Edge and Orton. I like that match. I want to see that match called in the ring.
Yeah.
Because I think if we can get... Now, rumor has it that Edge might have torn his tricep during that match.
Yeah, I'm not sure. There hasn't been an official statement by WWE or by him, so...
Hopefully not. Hopefully he's kayfabing us all.
Yeah,
but I want to believe... I want us to get back to crowds at shows very soon so I can see what these two legendary wrestlers can do. And I don't say performers. I'm going to say legendary wrestlers can do in front of a packed house, a packed stadium. I want to see that because, and just like Drew McIntyre deserves that big pop, Wisconsin's own Braun Strowman and Otis deserve
Otis deserves such a pop. Otis didn't even get an honorable mention, and I feel bad because I didn't forget, but it was such a small little tidbit. I was like, oh, Otis didn't get a lot of.
No, and we've called it. We're the Otis and Mandy of the internet right now, and
are we?
Well, we called it last time.
Okay.
We got Beauty and the Beast going on here.
I'm the Beast.
I'm sorry
right?
to call you a beast in front of everybody.
It's okay.
Oh, no,
I've accepted it. I've accepted.
Oh,
I've
no,
accepted. That's why I have the ears.
I love the ears.
And
yeah, no, of course you're not the Beast. Of course you are the beauty in this tandem. But yeah, Otis and Mandy. Well, I don't know what they're gonna do there, but I'm excited to see what happens.
I'm so excited.
So
yeah, I mean, I don't have any closing remarks. I mean, I kind of said all of the things I said. Go watch wrestling history, kids. Go learn.
Yes.
Go learn things. Go watch history in general.
Subscribe to our YouTube, wherever it is.
It's down here.
We are close to 600, and we're growing, and we're trying to get better every time. With every interview, everything that we do on here.
Yeah.
And we invite the comments, good or bad. I mean, just don't be mean in this day and age. I don't think that needs to be said. Don't be an internet.
Don't be a bully.
Don't be a bully.
Yeah.
But yeah. I want to see what everybody else thinks is a great match. And I know it's cliche.
Comment below your great matches because I want to watch them. And I want us to discuss stuff. Like, tell us what you think the greatest match that you've seen of all time is. And put it in the comments.
And maybe we get a fan
down.
on
It's
here.
down somewhere. I don't know. It might be up here. Who knows? It might be over here. Whatever. But it might be down here.
I will say this. If you are watching this, and we can prove that you've subscribed, liked, and shared, or whatever type of thing we do. And you tell us, and you comment. Well, our giveaway would be not, I mean, we could figure something out, but it's hard to get to the office to mail something out. But maybe we get in here a little three-way dance. Me, you, and a special guest, and we let them say, they could be the winner. They could email us the match. You and I could watch it, and we could have a little three-way dance discussion of their favorite match because we have different opinions, you and I, and we'll see if we agree or not with the opinions of people watching because a lot of fans have a lot of really great knowledge.
They do. I'm sorry, I'm laughing because when you were talking, you went, you did a very dramatic because. You went, because, and I thought you were going to go, New Day Rocks.
Oh, okay.
Day Rocks. Day Rocks. And that's all I could think about the entire time you were talking because you said because.
Nikole, don't you dare be sour. No alcohol was involved in the making of this show, folks, believe it or not.
No,
but yeah, please like, subscribe, share. Tell us what we're doing wrong. Tell us what we're doing right.
If you like us, tell your friends. If you don't like us, tell your enemies.
If you don't like us, you should really subscribe anyway to say, hey, listen, I had a hand in improving these two.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, that'll do it for me from Wisconsin.
And me from New Orleans.
And our entire company from Manchester over in the United Kingdom. We truly are a global experience. So please like, share, subscribe, and comment.